kid, 15 years old, complained bitterly that when he makes mistakes, he gets consequences. I was hearing about this mostly secondhand. But then he argued fiercely, actually nastily, with his mother, because he said, so I get consequences when I make mistakes, but when you make mistakes, you don't get consequences. So then he just attacked her to death about what he called double standard. And she asked me what I thought about it. Oh, the kid's a great little arguer, and he's learned how to intimidate you to get you to back off. But this is not a double standard. It would be a double standard if you were both children and did not have a consequence imposed. But see, you're not a child. You're the parent. And you do have different standards and consequences because you're the parent, because you're supposed to be the leader. If he really wants perfect single standards, then you tell him he has to provide an income equal to yours. And he has to pay half the mortgage, and he has to pay half the utilities and half the everything, and drive himself to school, even though he's not old enough to do that. No, he's arguing about this double standard only because he knows that he'll intimidate you with it. When people talk about what's fair, invariably they define fair as what suits them. They don't ever talk about how my kids in family meetings, they only did this a couple of times, but they would say, well, it's just not fair. When we'd talk about, I don't know, work or whatever, and I'd say, you're right. It's not fair. If I think about it, you don't work nearly hard enough for what you get. So, good point. So, we'll double your chores. We heard much less about fairness after that. And that's what this kid is doing. He's saying it's not fair because he doesn't get everything he wants. It has nothing to do with justice. Let's see how long he argues in favor of one standard when he has to pay half the bills. You are the parent. You have the greater experience, and so you don't have to live by the same rules. And see, everybody understands this. It's not a double standard. I don't get on an airplane when I fly places and complain that there's a double standard, that I have to sit back, in the plane, and the pilot gets to sit up front in his very own seat and control which way the airplane goes. No, that's not a double standard. He has a different standard because he knows what he's doing. He knows how to fly the plane. I don't want there to be one standard. I want him to have one and me to have another one where I just sit there and drink Diet Coke. Everybody understands this. There's not a double standard regarding the licensure of automobile drivers, for example. Your son will understand this. Until you're 16, you simply cannot drive. It's the law. That's one standard. It's not a double standard. And you take him everywhere he wants to go. He doesn't complain about that double standard. He doesn't ever drive you anywhere while you sit in the back and complain and eat potato chips. The same applies to parenthood. It's a different standard because you have the experience and you assumed the responsibility of being the parent and being the teacher and the one who loves the most. You have by far the harder job. So don't you back down when he does that double standard thing on you. He just does it to get you to back off so he can get away with stuff.